This project is a pilot study using a Canopy of Thoughts artwork and a mind walk research framework to understand the psychological effects of the global climate crisis. The project is grounded in scientific, theoretical, and artistic research, working from the following problem question: how to define and measure experiences of dissociation through the metaphorical relationship of protagonist and narrative, utilizing concept mapping techniques and sensory aspects to understand the role of embodiment in climate psychology. The concept map template tool used in this study references the artwork titled A Canopy of Thoughts, which is an artistic metaphor that symbolizes the protagonist in the process of navigating their mind within the context of their life narrative. You can now see a selection of concept maps returned from research participants in the earlier stages of the study, which show a variety of ways in which individuals presented their narratives using concept mapping. Concept maps can demonstrate how people visualize relationships between various concepts. The concept map you see now visually demonstrates the concepts in the Canopy of Thoughts artwork and the Mind Walk framework. Climate crisis is a term describing global warming, climate change, and their consequences. The term has been used to describe the threat of global warming to the planet. Climate psychology is a new way of understanding our collective denial in the face of worsening climate change. Dissociation is a process whereby an individual feels disconnected from their memories and emotions due to traumatic events. I am in crisis. We are in crisis. The Earth is in crisis. A global climate crisis. Layering. This layering of experience, after experience, mine, ours, the Earth's. Lapping, lurking, looping. Layers submerge the body, time after time. Layers of memory, layered memory. Mine, ours, the Earth's. A collective layering of memories. The boundary of mine, yours, ours, becomes becoming so foggy I cannot see. It is too heavy, too much, too hard to feel. Isolated, I'm isolated. Where to begin? When to begin? A deep resistance to enter this space, this state, this space, this place within myself. This narrative is layered and complex, and is my story, our story, folded into and folding into the story of many others. It is a story that is hard to tell, hard to remember, not because it is forgettable, because it is unforgettable. Overwhelming, painful and current. This story hurts, this body hurts. Uncertainty and fear of memory, detachment and dissociation. Folding paper, folding a memory, a time, a disaster, folding my trauma. It is important, I promise myself, not to forget about it, to keep it safely folded away, hidden, stored, safe. Carefully enclosed, my grief, my distress. Pressing down the edges to contain this, whatever this is, it is too much. I hold myself to forget. Denial of my emotions, of what this disaster really represents at a global scale. Toward the future, a daunting future, a denial of a forbidden reality. To myself, that this will happen again. Crumpling, the experience of the body, exhausted breath, exhausted mind, exhausted. Crumbling of home, crumpling of hope, crumpling of feeling, twisting, tension. Inhale, exhale, tentative trepidation, denial of information, destruction of home, destruction of hope, destruction of certainty, of life as we know it. How could this happen to me in my home? How can I bear this? How can I survive this grief? Submerged in tears, submerged in grief, the body crumples as the environment crumples. The mind trying to hold it together, to put aside feeling, to hold the remains, followed by a crumpling into relief. Suspended in mind, mind suspended in body, body suspended in mind and memory, caught off the ground, full of feeling, suspended in flight. Looking up into the forms, the fog, the fear, thoughts attached to trauma, circling ahead, whirling ahead, swirling, whirring, storming, moving and evolving, seemingly out of control. The body suspended, not supported, not cradled, suspended out of control, out of touch, ungrounded, reaching and reaching. One foot, one toe, breaking through the canopy, this canopy of thoughts, again and again and again. Rapid movement, momentum, swirling and whirring, longing for stability, certainty, longing for groundedness. A canopy of thoughts, residual aspects, residual effects, suspended artifacts of trauma, crumpled memories of home, places, people, flora, fauna, of certainty and of delusion. Crumpled thoughts, crumpled feelings, crumpled and compressed memories. Heavy, layered, suspended, and held. The weight, the enormity of the weight. Fragmented memories, partially revealed. An acknowledgement that they need to be documented, processed. Met with a contrasting resistance, a fear of being totally overwhelmed, a fear of annihilation.
well, it started with the Australia on fire. All Australia was on fire. It was everywhere. Everything was melted. Like everything, cups were melted. And
what do you think?
Oh God,
I think it's
don't know.
really interesting that our physical body is only a very small part of us.
Because I just went off.
Within us, there's so much,
Whether
and
we're
that's
walking in a
represented
forest
by
or
that,
walking
that
under a canopy.
And it is
Really,
like we
we're under
carry
the
that
canopy of the
around with
biosphere the
us
entire
all the
time.
but it's not visible.
I just went off on my thoughts and feelings.
Why not create the space where our thoughts are a canopy as well, that is part of our mind sphere?
Again, it's a reminder of how big a deal that was.
It really reminded me of Atlas and the Greek mythology, weighed down by their thoughts. How Atlas and you can really sort of connect to the fact that that's what's coming out of them. But it does give you that, that connection back to that mythology at the same time.
Overwhelmed. Too much to hold. Too much to process.
The context.
Too much to respond to.
A bushfire approaching.
Too much to feel.
My home.
Frozen in this heat. Fight or flight. Hypervigilant. Adrenaline-fueled action.
Rushing around in my body.
Frozen in thought. Frozen in feeling.
Unprecedented.
Fight or flight. Frozen in fighting.
Scared. Worried.
Fighting for survival, for my past, memories, my memories.
It was like Armageddon.
The future, my future.
It was so weird.
Flight in feeling, in being.
Siren.
Body in action. Disconnected, fragmented, fractured.
I felt really scared.
Frozen emotions, frozen in time.
I needed to talk
Frozen
to
in
somebody,
feeling.
so I talked to my children.
While the air is hot to touch, hot to breathe, holding the breath, waiting.
Where we could evacuate to, offered my place.
Unfolding. In time, with support, with structure.
To sort out what
The folded parcel can be unearthed,
is precious.
held, examined, unfolded.
That was very overwhelming.
Carefully, the first corner is lifted, fingers prying gently. The folds allow opening.
And that eerie.
First one fold, and then the next, and the next, and the next. A contracted memory, an expanding memory. Slow, considered, supported, synchronized with the breath.
Having a few tears.
Over time, breathing into the experience, breathing into the emotions, exhaling through the material.
Has brought it back.
Uncertain, afraid, will they burn too?
So many little creatures that burn.
This vulnerable body could be destroyed, like this vulnerable land, like this vulnerable existence.
Thinking, the sirens
Tentatively and tender. With time I can exhale. With time I can let go, revisit, learn, and process.
Mentally, I was in great discomfort.
layer myself within myself, learning how to listen, to support, relearning, looping, reversing, and loving. And feeling the weight, sifting, searching, seeking to understand. How challenging it is to go back into their stories, caught in the canopy again. I lean into the material, exhale into the material, into the movement, the breath, the sound. Wrapping myself, my hurt, and my loss. Searching for safety, searching for the self, lost in isolation, separated in the self, wrapping, holding, hurting, hoping. It's crumpled, it's closed to feeling, wrapped and hidden, overwhelming, compounding, condensed, contracting in time, concertinaed like my memories. This is anxiety. Tearing and ripping. Tearing, ripping, hurt, frustrated, anger. Why did we ignore the warnings for years, for months? Preparation came too late. We were too late this time. Guilt at not listening. Guilt at feeling relief. Guilt at what others lost. Ripping into my being. Ripping apart. Ripping my home, my hope, and my trust. And yet, with this ripping, there is feeling. Feeling is hard. Ripping apart the facade of certainty, of grief, of anxiety. Gentle and angry. In 2019, in Australia, my home country and my home region, the South Coast in New South Wales, experienced the catastrophic climate disaster known as the Black Summer. I was not there in person. My experience was secondhand, third-hand, relayed through the news, social media and personal accounts. To be away from and out of harm, not being there, was it easier? I will never know. What I remember is the excruciating anxiety and grief of watching on a global broadcast the intimate part of my home and childhood being burned, destroyed, devoured by fire. The plants, the animals, the places. I felt so powerless. All I could do was watch, listen, wait, hope. The experience became so overwhelming that I could not focus on the present. I had to disconnect to function. The information, the content, the distress I did not know what to do with it. It was unbearable. The weight, the helplessness, a dark tunnel of collective distress. Unstructured, how can I even be helpful? I want to be helpful. It was traumatic. There are layers of trauma. And knowing that this experience is not random or unexpected, or the last time that it can be expected to occur. I felt separated, isolated from my home and my community, and from this disconnection, this detachment, this trauma and grief came a desperation, a strong welling feeling of love and determination. A determination to create a structured method, a positive way to listen, to process the difficult and formative experiences, and to share knowledge. I'm still processing. It's harder than I could have ever imagined. To remember, process, incorporate experience-based knowledge, and to construct a method to capture thoughts and visualize cognitive architecture. And what I have discovered along this journey is that many others share similar versions of my own experience. I have learned that I'm not isolated. A canopy of thoughts, our canopy of thoughts, a cognitive architecture made visual through concept mapping of factors, thoughts, and feelings, disparate aspects linked visibly and invisibly, consciously and unconsciously, Associations realized through asking, articulating, listening, reaching up to understand, structuring knowledge to achieve grounding. I am in crisis. We are in crisis. The Earth is in crisis. A global climate crisis.